Welcome back to part 2 of lesson 1 of module 12. We're going to continue completing the square, and we're going to focus on solving a quadratic equation and leaving the answer in simplest radical form right now. So let's take a look at the next problem. So if you remember, we want to try to make this a perfect square trinomial. Right now, it is not. I want to move the 13 out of the way by subtracting it from both sides, leaving myself a blank that I need to fill in to make this a perfect square trinomial. How do I do that? I take the b value, -2, and divide it by 2, getting -1, and then not putting that number in there, but then squaring that. So -1 squared is +1. That's the number that goes in the blank, and I have to add it to both sides. Now this is a perfect square trinomial. I can rewrite that as x minus 1 times x minus 1, or x minus 1 squared. 83 plus 1 is 84. Now I'm ready to solve it. Take the square root of both sides, and I get x minus 1 equals, well, that's a problem. The square root of 84 is not a good number. So I need to go break that down. This goes back to what we learned with radicals a few weeks ago. I showed you a couple different methods for doing that. Hopefully you still remember that, because this is one of the methods. I'll do it over here. 84 breaks into 2 and 42. 42 breaks to 2 and 21. 21 breaks to 7 and 3. So I could write that as a product of those prime factors. So 2, 2, 3, and 7. Well, 2 times 2 can be 2 squared, and the square root of 2 squared is 2. The 3 and 7 don't have a match, so they stay into the radical and become 21. So x minus 1, back to the problem, equals plus or minus 2 radical 21. Right? And that we need to make two equations from. So x minus 1 equals positive 2 radical 21, and x minus 1 equals negative 2 radical 21. Add 1 to both sides. I get 1 plus 2 radical 21. I cannot put those together. Remember our rules with radicals. So that's one of my answers. And the other answer is 1 minus 2 radical 21. Okay, so I know it's a little confusing, but you have all the tools you need to solve that problem. What happens when the a value is not 1? Well, if that happens, you're probably going to be able to take out the a value by having it as a GCF. If you look at all these terms, they're all divisible by 2. So I'm going to go ahead and divide them all by 2. That gives me x squared plus 12x plus 36 equals 100. We actually have a perfect square trinomial right here. Okay, 36, two numbers that multiply to 36 and add to 12 are 6 and 6. So that's x plus 6 squared equals 100. Now I'm ready to solve. Go ahead and do that. Oh, and the 100 is actually a good number here. The square root of 100 is 10, but I have to remember plus or minus 10. Two equations, x plus 6 equals 10, and x plus 6 equals -10. Subtract 6, I get x equals 4. Subtract 6, and I get x equals -16. Okay, I've got one more problem that's going to pop up here. I want you to pause it and try it. I'm going to hit enter, and all of everything is going to pop up here in a second. Okay, so pause it and try it if you think you're confident with this. If not, keep watching. All right, so everything pops up here. So what happened was I was able to divide everything by 3. You can see that happen here with the first one. Okay, so when I do that, x squared plus 16x minus 3 equals 15. Well, that's not a perfect square trinomial, so I'm going to add 3 to both sides. So 15 plus 3 is 18, leaving myself a blank. What goes in the blank? B divided by 2, so 16 divided by 2 is 8, and then square that. That's 64. So 64 got added to both sides. Okay, and I see the mistake here. This should be the square root of 82. Okay, this should be 82, not 72. All right, which is going to change this a little bit. So the square root of 82 might not break down at all. That is 41 and 2, and those are actually both prime, so no, they do not break down at all. So it's just the square root of 82. Okay, and that actually leads to a good point here. Ignore all of this. This becomes x plus 8 equals the square root of 82. And x plus 8 equals negative square root of 82. You add 8 to both, or subtract 8 from both sides, and you get x equals negative 8 plus square root of 82, and x equals negative 8 minus the square root of 82. Sorry, just caught that typo as I was teaching it. So hopefully you caught that and understand that. And that concludes this lesson.